Thanks, Johnny. Well, last night you and I were commentating on Minis versus Mustangs, and we were raving about the number 62 car that took the win. It was piloted by these gents, and we got Martin Lauber and Andrew Waite here. Guys, firstly, congratulations on last night's win. Martin, you were in the car first up for the first stint.
Yes, I got the car when it had good tires and the brakes actually worked. And I used them up and handed it to my good friend Andrew at the pit stop.
Andrew, myself and Johnny Green were loving calling that race last night, but we weren't quite sure who was driving when. It was a really good race, and you put that car, right through the pack, right away to the checkered flag. Brilliant stuff. Tell us about it.
Well, Martin came in, and I think there was a yellow, and so I went out kind of in the thick of a group of cars, and not 100% sure where we were. And being endurance racing, when things get mixed up after a pit stop, I just figured, look, I don't know where we are, we just got to go. And so I think it was like 9 cars we had to get through. The corkscrew was kind of fun to manage, right, at that point. And then it was just hammer down. And then I think about 4 or 5 laps into that, I just looked up and said, oh my gosh, we're in the lead. And then it was about just, okay, let's keep her together. Let's not make any mistakes. Let's just wrap this thing up and finish in one piece.
It was a really exciting race to call, I have to say. And what was, obvious and perhaps understandable is in the corners, you guys in the Minis were whipping through the corners, whipping through the pack. When it got to the straightaway, then the Mustangs would pull back, and it was kind of like you would get away, they would come back, you get away, come back. But what people might not have realized amongst all this, Martin, is that Don Racine puts all these cars together. You aren't the owners, you choose to rent these and do it as like another class that you run this weekend.
Yeah, I myself, I'm also running in Group 5. I've got a Porsche 911 RSR spec car over there. But Don Racine and his son Dennis from minimania.com, they put together this every year. We're going 2-3 years running now, and it's great. We come out and rent these things and just have a blast. And I think I told you earlier, both Andrew and I had a schedule conflict on Friday, which was qualifying. And so on Thursday, I just offhandedly said to Jeff O'Neill, the organizer, I said, why don't you qualify it for us? And he said, I've never driven one before. And I said, well, most of us don't drive them very often. He came out here, and I'll be darned if he didn't qualify at P7 for us. So I started the race in P7, I handed it to Andrew in P1, and he took it even further and just dominated. So.
And Andrew, we were chatting as well, you've raced all kinds of things, karts, go-karts being one thing, and understanding how to handle a car is not dissimilar to understanding how to handle one of these things.
Yeah, I mean, look, I run 100cc and shifter karts as well as all kinds of other cars. And when you have very little power and limited grip, it's just demanding. You've got to flow, you've got to drive efficiently, and it's just a hugely fun challenge. It's great. It's just a blast.
Yeah. And I think what you were saying as well, you sort of like understand about feathering the brakes a bit, allow the chassis to kind of do the braking, and then you get on the brakes.
Yeah, I mean, the first part of braking one of these cars is just to turn the steering wheel, right? That creates a little bit of drag, that slows the car down, and then you just add only as much deceleration as you need to get through the corner on one piece and then keep the momentum, keep it rolling.
Really exciting stuff. So, chaps, you took the win last night. We're going again tonight. It's a 50-minute race. Just so we know, and Johnny Green is on comms with perhaps with me later on, who's racing when tonight, and how do you think you're going to get on?
I think we agreed. I'm going to start the race, and my job, what I'm going to do is what I did yesterday. I'm going to try. I stayed as close to the Mustangs as I could so that I could watch. You could tell when their tires start to go off. So that's what I was watching for. So, if they get ahead, that's fine. You don't strike until their tires are starting to go off. So my goal is to give him the car in P1 midway through so that he has an easy second half.
And, I also got to mention the Mustang guys. Yeah. Look, I mean, they're driving the absolute wheels off those things. And being right next to one as it's leaning over and doing all sorts of, horrendous looking things, kudos, lots of credit to these guys. They're incredible drivers. And I felt so comfortable. It was like dancing with a whale, Yeah. I felt completely safe, comfortable, and it just added to the fun to have these guys be as solid as they were.
I want to mention one more thing, if I can. If you can imagine all the crew necessary for all these cars, they're all friends of Don and Dennis Racine. They're all volunteers who came out here, towed the cars here, doing timing, fueling, tire changing. They're all volunteer crew members. So it's quite a wonderful community, these Mini guys and the Mustang guys.
Guys, listen, we could talk all day, but we are sort of running out of time this little segment. I'm looking forward to seeing a race later on. Best of luck to you guys. Don Racine is in the 177 car as well.
Ian Dennis, yeah.
Right, with his with his son Dennis. We'll look forward to seeing the 177 running alongside the 62 car later. Johnny, there you go. The scene is set for Minis versus Mustangs later on this evening.